Good evening and welcome to this meeting of the Washington County Board of Education. I call this meeting to order and declare that we have a quorum with 6 members present. If you'd please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a prayerful moment of silence. This evening, the pledge is being led by Navia Frankful, a 5th grader at Cascade Elementary. Stand with me, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, order our steps tonight. Guide the work of our hands. Give us wisdom as we legislate to assure that every single student in this county is equipped to lead successful lives of purpose. May all that we say and do glorify you. You may be seated. I am so glad to meet you. And I'm thinking that you have some people here that you'd like to introduce to us.
Yes. Here is my sister Ariana. There is my mom. And then my other sister is Ciara and my dad. And then this is my principal, Miss Winders. And this is my gate teacher, Miss Bowers.
Oh, that's wonderful. I bet you didn't know that your principal and I went to school together. We did. Well, college. She's a little bit younger than me. So I hear that you like sharks and want to be a marine biologist.
Yes.
How did you come upon that?
Well, I was talking to my mom about how I love sharks, and she was like, you can explore sharks by being a marine biologist, and I want to explore sharks when I get older.
And you like to draw?
Yes.
Draw what?
I like to draw scary things, like scary faces and eyeballs.
Yikes. And your favorite color is?
Teal.
Why?
Because it just reminds me of the ocean.
Can you tell me about your 2 cats and a dog?
My dog's name is Schnookums. She's a Maltese Chihuahua. My cat's name is Shiva. She's a girl. And my other cat's name is Dobby.
Do you have anything else you'd like to share with us?
Not today.
Oh. How about if I open it up to the board members and see if they have anything they'd like to say to you?
Yeah.
Anybody?
I would just like to say, you have a beautiful smile.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And I can hear you. That's good, too.
What's your favorite subject in school?
My favorite subject would be ELA.
I think you did
Thank you so much. Oh,
Sorry. I think you did a great job because I know it's really nerve-wracking standing in front of a packed room. So good for you. You did awesome.
Thank you.
anyone else?
How did you come to like sharks? Have you been watching a lot of Shark Week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking your time to come and visit with us. You really are my favorite part of the evening.
Thank you.
Thanks. Can I have a motion for approval of the agenda?
Motion to approve agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
I was going to say aye.
Thank you. And we will start with an approval of the minutes, and there are several, so
Go ahead.
have at it.
All right. Madam President, I move for the approval of the closed session minutes dated Tuesday, October 15th, 2024.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Linda, are you abstaining? Okay.
Under the second motion for the approval of the business meeting minutes dated Tuesday, October 15th, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, that's a consensus.
I want to say aye.
All right.
For our third motion, the approval of the work session minutes dated Tuesday, November 5th, 2024.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All right.
Our fourth, excuse me, our fourth motion for the approval of closed session open portion minutes dated Tuesday, November 5th, 2024.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you very much. And we move to you, Dr.
I got one more.
Oh, there's one
And
more?
there's one more hidden at the bottom. For our fifth and final motion, the approval of the closed session minutes dated Tuesday, November 5th, 2024.
Sorry about that. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Unanimous approval. And now it's your turn.
Thank you, President Zitmeyer. It's with excitement that we recognize a number of our student athletes for earning state championships this fall. This time, I'd like to invite forward Mr. Eric Michael, our Supervisor of Athletics, Health, and Physical Education, to recognize our state champions.
Okay, good evening, President Zentmeyer, Dr. Savine, members of the board. This fall, we had a very successful season in Washington County. Washington County Public Schools had 5 Central Maryland Conference team championships and 3 individual champions. We had 7 teams win region championships and 3 individuals win region championships. We had 3 state championship teams and 2 individuals win state championships. Tonight, I'm proud to introduce our fall state champions to you. We're going to start with our volleyball teams. This year, and this is the only time it's happened 2 times in Maryland history of volleyball, where 3 classifications won by 1 county. And this is the second time. The other one was Washington County as well in 2012. We had 3 championships. There's 4 classifications. We had 3 different classification champions. I'd like to say we don't have a 4A school at this time. If not, we'd have 4 of them. We did have 4 teams make it to the state championship this year. Clear Spring, they were the 1A finalists, and they played Boonesboro High School, and Boonesboro High School is our 1A state volleyball champions for this year. Boonesboro won, this is their first state championship in 40 years, so they've been working very hard, and they finally got there. It's nice to see them get over the hump this year. I'm going to introduce you to our team members that are with us tonight. First up, we have Larissa Blair, Roslyn Briggs, Lauren Chu, Ava Eby, Anna Louise Gibson, Devin Glines, Brooke Yeager, Anna Jackson, Carly McGivney, Allie Phillips, Sydney Turner, Taylor Weddle. Coaches, head coach Shelby Wallace, assistant coach Penny Ambrose, assistant coach Terrence Young, and our managers Sarah McElwee and Michaela Sadro. Your 1A state volleyball champions, Boonesboro High School.
Try to get in between the person so that. Are you behind? Try to get behind.
And in Class 2A this year, we had Williamsport High School winning their 17th state volleyball title. At 17, it puts them in the most in the state of Maryland by 2 championships. So it's a pretty historic event for Williamsport. Our team members here tonight are Johanna Bowman, Kennedy Lawhorn, Callie McClung, Skylar Norris, Liliana Swartz, Dakara Sumlin, manager Leah Snook,
We'll get one to you.
head coach Karen Hampton, and assistant coach Britt Renner. Your 2A state volleyball champions, Williamsport High School.
Good job, ladies. Good job, coach.
Our last volleyball champion, the 3A and the 3A classification this year was North Hagerstown, winning their 6th state volleyball title and their 3rd title in 3 years. Team members with us tonight are Chloe Gee, Madison Schatzer, Nevaeh Ware, Sydney Wilt, and head coach Lacey Johnson. In case, tonight is the North-South basketball game, so there's kids involved in that. There's a big sports night, so we do have several kids doing that and playing winter sports. So that's why we are missing a lot of people. But again, your 3A state volleyball champions 3 times in a row, North Hagerstown High School. And then we had a couple individual champions this year. The first one in the sport of golf. Golf is not 4 classifications like the other sports. There's only 2. There's a 3A, 4A classification and a 1A, 2A. This year we're proud to have Piper Meredith from Boonesboro High School, who is the 1A, 2A girls state champion. Piper, this is the first golf championship in 16 years in Washington County. Piper is only the 4th girl in history to win the state championship, and she's actually the first person not from Smithsburg to win a state championship in golf. So congratulations, Piper. With Piper tonight is head coach John Miller and assistant coach Jeff McAvoy. And then
Oh, wait, we have
one more. And then next we have a 3A girls cross-country champion, not a stranger to us, Lauren Stein. This is her 4th state championship, but it's her first cross-country championship. It's the one that kind of eluded her, so she finally got it in her senior year. Lauren had the fastest time of all 4 classifications, so it's safe to say that Lauren is the fastest girl this year in cross-country in the state of Maryland. Congratulations, Lauren Stein of North Hagerstown High School.
Just want to take a moment to once again congratulate all of our state champions. We're going to continue on with our recognitions. We'll move on now to the recognition of the 2024 Maryland Council of Teachers of Mathematics Outstanding Mathematics Educator for Elementary Education. This time I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Amy Seiler, our K-12 Supervisor of Mathematics and Science.
Thank you. Good evening, President Zettmeyer, Dr. Savine, and members of the board. The Maryland Council of Teachers of Mathematics celebrates outstanding educators every year. This organization honors individuals at elementary, middle, and high who exemplify excellence in mathematics education. The application process includes essay responses, letters of reference, and video of the teacher in practice. I'm proud to share with you today that for a second year in a row, a Washington County elementary teacher is being honored by the Maryland Council of Teachers of Mathematics. Congratulations to Ms. Elizabeth Sutherland. Ms. Sutherland has been teaching for a total of 15 years in Washington County and has taught in grades 1, 2, 3, and 5. She is currently a grade 5 teacher at Fountain Rock Elementary School. Awardees were celebrated at a banquet in mid-October by the Maryland Council of Teachers of Mathematics, and we wanted to take a moment this evening to also celebrate here in Washington County with colleagues, friends, and family. Ms. Sutherland, we are pleased to honor you today as the 2024 Maryland Council of Teachers of Mathematics Outstanding Elementary Teacher. Congratulations.
Hello, congratulations.
Thank you.
Huh? Sure.
Oh, sorry.
All right, good smiles here on 3. 1, 2, 3. Last one, 1, 2.
And we have one additional recognition. This recognition is for teachers for attaining National Board Certification and Maintenance of Certification. This time I'll turn it over to our Strategic Incentives Coordinator, Dr. Kara Burhans. Yeah. I was like, look at here. Yeah, she went over there.
Good evening, President Zittmeyer, members of the board, and Dr. Sovine. National Board Certification is a voluntary advanced teaching credential designed to develop, retain, and recognize accomplished teachers who support ongoing improvement in schools nationwide. National Board Certification is aligned with national standards for what accomplished teachers should know and be able to do. The National Board for Professional Teaching Standards certifies teachers who successfully complete its rigorous certification process. To attain certification, candidates must demonstrate the following: a deep understanding of the students they are teaching and how each student learns, ongoing reflective teaching practice rich in content knowledge, management and monitoring of student learning through the use of data and assessments, systematic thinking and reflection on teaching practice, continued participation in professional learning opportunities. Washington County Public Schools is committed to the continued growth of this program and is honored to recognize the following teachers for attaining National Board certification. We ask that you please hold your applause until all names have been called. Rebecca Ardinger, Amanda Arnett, Justin Baker, Katie Bard, Katie Barnhart, Lauren Bird, Emily Blickenstaff, Sarah Browning, Amanda Kale, Brianna Calkins, Drew Crawford, Casey Dawson, Brad Distad, Christopher Derica, Kathleen Eck, Jenny Finnefrock, Mark Fogel, Stephanie Fogel, Jamie Ford, Vincent Foreman, Catherine Fox, Heather Fritz, Lisa Gaynor, Amanda Gibson, Sally Harchak, Jenna Hartwig, Marguerite Hebner, Emily Hobson, Angie Hoy, Sherry Hubstenberger, Sarah Irvin, Susan Kaltenbaugh, Jason Kamler, Nicole Keys, Dan Lidner, Josh Lindstrom, Katie Ling, Jacob Lougheed, Emily Lowry, Jordan Lowry, Megan Marshall, Hannah Martirano, Heather McAllister, Bethany Myers, Kathy Moats, Brittany Montgomery, Johanna Mullendor, Aaron Myers, Victoria Myers, Aaron Orth, Kathy Pepper, Caitlin Repp, Alice Roberts, Adam Rudy, Aaron Ruff, Tyler Stanton, Cassandra Suter, Elizabeth Sutherland, James Swanson, Vanessa Tidings, Aaron Walter, Raymond Weber, Nina Wolf. The National Board's maintenance of certification is a pathway for National Board teachers to keep their certification active. Successfully meeting these requirements extends a National Board Certified Teacher Certificate 5 years from the certificate expiration. The maintenance of certification process is designed to ensure that nationally board certified teachers continue to grow professionally while substantially impacting student learning. Washington County Public Schools is honored to recognize the following teachers for maintaining their certification through the National Board's maintenance of certification pathway: Becky Higgins-Airy, and Leah Pongratz. Please join me in congratulating these teachers on their outstanding accomplishment.
My front row, if the person standing behind you is less tall than you, switch places.
I think you're good. You're good to stay. Yeah, you say we did.
And everyone behind the window. I am gonna get a little over.
You're going to get it here.
No, board members, I can kind of see you back there.
That's all right.
That's okay.
They're the important ones.
All right. And
Yes.
All right, we're gonna run with this. All right, good smiles here on 3. 1, 2, 3. We're gonna take a few more. Hold that. And one more here. 1, 2, 3. Congratulations.
Good to see you.
Okay. Sorry, still get it. Congratulations. Yeah. Yes.
I want to extend my congratulations to all of our National Board Certified teachers. Congratulations. Yes. Yeah.
Still waiting on my t-shirt.
Dr. Zentmeyer, this concludes our recognition segment of our meeting, and as you can see, we're making way. We have a number of citizens and parents that are now vacating, and then we have a second group transitioning in for our business meeting and public comment.
Thank you, Dr. Savine. The next item on our agenda is public comment. Before I call individuals forward who would like to make comments this evening, I'd like to read from policy KD regarding procedures at business meetings. Each person wishing to address the Board of Education is encouraged but not required to sign up prior to the meeting and may address any topic concerning Washington County Public Schools except personnel or student matters which clearly identify an individual or individuals. Those wishing to address the board who do not sign up prior to the start of the meeting will be required to sign the log located at the speaker's table for the purpose of the meeting's minutes. Each speaker may speak up to 5 minutes. A timer will be used for each speaker. Once the speaker begins, the timer will be started and a green light will be displayed. You'll see that right beside the computer. When the speaker has 30 seconds remaining in their allotted time, a yellow light will be displayed, and when the speaker's 5 minutes have elapsed, a tone will sound, and a red light will be displayed on the timer indicating that the speaker's allotted time has ended. At this time, I'd like to call the first speaker, Brittany Deal.
No, you already said you're good.
I'm good? Okay. Let's start?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, I'm Brittany Deal. I'm with the Hancock community. Really hate that I'm starting it, but I'm here today due to a variety of concerns, events within our school and our community. Some of you might be aware of what happened on November 2nd to the Hancock football team. My son plays on that team. He has been playing football for 7-ish years, since he could, in 3rd grade. He loves it. It's his passion. It's his dream. He has high hopes to continue playing football as long as he can. On November 2nd, we were informed that Hancock would not be going to the playoffs, that there was a statement made. It's an accusation, so I'm not going to, I believe it, but I'm not going to say it, made about the kids that, on why they weren't going. It was extremely discouraging to the kids, to the parents, to the community. We don't sit there and pour our hearts and our souls and our money, our time into these kids doing extracurricular activities, trying to teach them to be a student athlete, and then say absolutely ridiculous comments about them. Another series of events have unfolded. It's hard to, I write notes, but it's really hard to sit here for 5 minutes and tell you everything that's happened in the past few months, because it's been quite a whirlwind. You have a lot of people outpouring their experiences at Hancock. There are concerns. You have a lot of people, we were hoping for a bigger crowd from Hancock, but you actually have a lot of people who don't want to come here because they're afraid to lose their job. They're afraid that's going to ruin their opportunity. So they're afraid to share their opinion and how they feel because of repercussions at the school. Many of them tell you, I'm behind you, I got your back, but they're not here. They're either at a basketball game or they're afraid to be here. You have parents expressing their concerns time and time and time this past 2 months, actually years. I graduated from Hancock 2005. The difference in the overall atmosphere of that school is depressing. When I went to school, athletics was a big deal. And it's not just about athletics, it's about the student too. But we were held to standards, we had to do our job, we had to go to school, we had to do all of these things. These students go there every day. My son did not miss a single day of school because he loved football. Every single day he went. He knew he had to be there. So to work hard all season and fight and then get told such a hurtful statement of why. And then when we bring it to attention, it feels like we get what generic responses. A couple other key points to this is, why does Hancock travel 4 hours to play a football game? When the state's games, when we were going into playoffs, everybody else was going into playoffs. I didn't actually know that Smithsburg was a 1A school. Why don't we play them? But yet we'll travel 4 hours to play a school. Have you guys traveled 4 hours during high school? Because it's pretty rough. You get tired. The kids get tired. They still have to go to school the next day. We travel 3 hours. Last year, they wouldn't even get them a charter bus. They were traveling 4 hours on a school bus. But we can't play Smithsburg. We don't play Smithsburg. Boonesboro is there. Harvard to Grace is only 2 hours away. You have Concocton not that far away. Why don't we play those schools? Hancock's been building up a opportunity to move forward. You have 2 players, my son and a nephew. They play together. This was their second year playing together, and their stats both have increased because they're in it. They love it, the passion, right? And it just got ripped away, and you just discouraged all of the kids who want to play football. My son doesn't even know if he wants to continue going to Hancock. And how discouraging is that to say his own hometown that he might not want to play for him because he doesn't know what it's going to be like in the future. He wants to go to college. Is Hancock going to be able to help support that? He doesn't have the true coaching support everywhere, or what feels like the admin to support it at all. It seems intentional, deliberate, and it's been happening for years. I wanted to know what the plans were to ensure this was never going to happen again, and that Hancock had every single opportunity that all those state champions just got. The coaching and the admin. Everybody's fully supporting them. That's why they're there, because they had those coaches, and you all should thank your coaches.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Neil Becker.
Good evening, President Zentmeyer, Superintendent Sovine, board members and staff. Thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening and to express my welcome to the new board members. Seeking public office in the pursuit of the greater good is commendable, and I thank you for your willingness to serve the students and staff of Washington County Public Schools as board members. While some board members may know me, I may be a new face to some of you. I'm a veteran educator with experience at the high school, middle school, and now elementary school levels. I represented our teachers as the president of the association for 8 years. But most importantly, I'm the spouse of a former WCPS paraprofessional and the father of 3 WCPS graduates. Tonight, I speak as an individual. In addition to welcoming you, I want to touch on and thanking you for your service. I want to touch on a few topics that have been brought up during the campaigns and during meetings over the last few months, including transparency, advocacy, and accountability. My comments do not include name-calling, foul language, or any raised voices, but my message is still worthy of your time. Accountability. As board members, you are responsible for policies and a budget related to educating over 22,000 students and a school system that employs over 3,000 educators. That is to whom you are accountable, not your donors or any political party. Transparency. As board members, you are to be transparent in your decision-making and budget development. The sunshine rules related to the Open Meeting Acts, they're important, but they are not the only way in which you are to be transparent. Visit schools, interact with students, educators throughout the county, throughout the year. By visiting schools and discussing topics with students, staff, and family members, you will learn far more about WCPS than you will from reading Facebook posts, Facebook comments, or by attending a club meeting. Advocacy. As board members, you are to advocate for all students, regardless of race, religion, gender, or any other labels. All students, honor students, special education students, multilingual students, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, and atheist students, gay students, and straight students. All students and their families deserve your advocacy. As educators, my colleagues and I welcome every student, regardless of the boxes checked on enrollment forms, because that's what we do. That's who we are. WCPS is on the right path under the direction of Superintendent Sovine and district leadership sitting in the back of the room. Work with system leaders, students, families, and association leaders to get the complete picture as you make decisions. Please don't work or act in a vacuum. See the big picture.
Thank you, Mr. Becker. Next, Carol Mallon.
Good evening, President Zentmeyer, Dr. Sovine, and members of the board. I'm Carol Mowen, President of the Washington County Teachers Association. I wanted to take a moment to introduce myself to you and to share comments on behalf of our nearly 1,500 members of WCTA. First, a little bit about me. I began teaching in 1987 and have worked in education for these 37 years. When I transitioned from my high school English classroom at Tech High to serve as the elected WCTA president in the summer of 2023, I left a very different teaching landscape than the one I entered in my 20s. When I started teaching, for example, we didn't have the internet, email, or online gradebooks. But regardless of these changes in technologies, instructional materials, policies, and laws, the heart of teaching has remained the same. We work to engage our students in the complex activity of learning. And while we are teaching our respective contents, English, math, social studies, science, physical education, music, art, world languages, and more, we are also seeking to educate and empower each student to achieve independence and contribute to a diverse and evolving society. It's hard. It's exhausting. It requires patience and resilience. It can be frustrating and rewarding. And teachers rarely, if ever, have enough time in their workday to do all the things that are required of them. Each day we return, like Sisyphus, to roll the rock uphill. As an association, WCTA endeavors to partner with stakeholders, including parents, to become a unified community that provides optimal outcomes for every student. Our members work for WCPS as elementary and secondary teachers, counselors, therapists, librarians, case managers, content specialists, social workers, and mentors. We provide intervention and enrichment, general education services, and special education services. We serve students across all the grade levels who are from diverse backgrounds, who may or may not be ready to learn when they arrive in our schools. We work to do what we can with what we have while faced with factors beyond our control. In order to improve our working conditions and our students' learning conditions, WCTA leaders seek to develop cooperative relationships and partnerships with parents, community, and other stakeholders because we know that these are vital to the health and success of the entire school community. We engage each year in the bargaining process with the Board of Education's negotiations team so that we can continuously improve the negotiated agreement that serves as our contract. We believe that it is through formal, informal, and fluid opportunities to collaborate that we collectively can serve the best interest of our educational system, students, and community. We are ready to partner with this Board of Education to address common concerns while following the laws and policies that govern our work. On today's agenda, you and the superintendent recognize the efforts and achievements of some of our county's teachers. Of those receiving accolades for earning or maintaining the prestigious National Board Certification in Teaching, 80% are members of the Washington County Teachers Association. Elizabeth Sutherland, who was recognized for being named the 2024 Maryland Outstanding Mathematics Educator at the elementary level, and Shelby Wallace, one of the coaches for the Boonesboro Championship volleyball team, are also WCTA members. When you think about who we are as WCTA, I want you to remember these teachers and the many others who have been here before and who will be here in the future to receive your commendations. I also want you to remember the following points. Over 70% of the teachers who work for the Washington County Public Schools are members of WCTA. We are a valuable workforce that is not easily replaced. WCTA represents the voice for these teachers in our schools. If you as individual members of the board would like to discuss how WCTA's priorities align with your goals for WCPS, I would be glad to schedule a time to meet. Thank you for your attention and for your service to the students and families of Washington County.
Thank you. At this time, is there anyone else who would like to speak? Would you state your name for us, please?
Yes, good evening. My name is Fran Shea, and I'm a parent of an alumni student here in Washington County. Good evening, Dr. Zentmeyer, Dr. Savine, and members of the board. You were elected because the citizens and parents of our county are thirsting for change. You are now promoted and empowered to make real changes over the next 4 years to help our students accelerate their learning, especially in reading, the foundation of all academics. We ask that you continue to make education not only great again, but extraordinary. This is your time and opportunity to be champions for education for the 22,000+ of diverse students across our county. We need to continue to advocate and educate for all of our student populations to be critical and creative thinkers and provide curriculums and reading programs that support our diverse communities. Not all students are created equal, and one-size curriculums and reading programs do not fit all, especially as it relates to reading. In this election, you stated the following: parental rights were important, a program of study to meet every student's need, high academic performance, and fiscal responsibility, among other campaign promises for no woke curriculum and safety for our students, all of which are important. We applaud you on your campaign promises because your lists are essential but not complete. Our most vulnerable students are those in special education. Having been a part of IEP meetings, parents are not heard and parental and student rights are violated. Curriculums are not modified with programs such as Orton-Gillingham Plus, which is a proven scientific structured literacy program, because until last summer, it simply wasn't available. Training is being conducted at a very slow, and financial resources are strained and minimal. Since you are just beginning your journey in Washington County, we found it important to revisit the need for teachers to receive and continue to be trained in Orton-Gillingham Plus. We are asking for Washington County to continue to earmark $100,000 in their yearly budgets to continue to train teachers on the science of reading, increase the number of trained teachers, and to allow continued professional development. The $100,000 per year would train at least one teacher in each school per year. 2 trained teachers in each school for elementary through high school would help reduce reading deficit and help close the achievement gaps for those students identifying with reading deficits. And now I'd like to turn it over to one of my alumni students that has firsthand experience with these problems.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, what was your name?
My name is Fran Shea, S-H-A-Y. Completing the log for your record.
Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Zentmeyer, Dr. Savine, and the members of the board. Hello, my name is Taylor Shea, and I'm a proud graduate from Barbara Ingram School for the Arts class of 2022. I'm currently a junior at Liberty University studying elementary and special education. And I have been inspired to pursue an education degree because of my diagnosis with dyslexia and my experience within Washington County Public Schools. It also has inspired me for my advocacy work for dyslexia. I wish my experience with Washington County was positive, but that is far from the truth. I was identified as a student with dyslexia in 2nd grade, in which was 14 years ago. The only program that Washington County provided at the time was the Wilson method, with only one fully trained teacher in all 12 modules across the county. It was highly recommended that students with reading deficits learn all 12 modules at an independent rate of learning to achieve mastery of skills. I was dismissed in 5th grade, which put me in the 30% of students to be dismissed from special education services after only 2 years. Not having the services I needed made middle school difficult, and I entered high school at a 5th grade reading level. Midway through 9th grade, I was reintroduced to Wilson, relearned the first 4 modules, and completed all 12, and still only one fully trained teacher in the county. Once a student is identified with dyslexia, they are dyslexic for life. It's not something that disappears. It doesn't go away. Dyslexics need a structured literacy approach. Washington County has approximately 22,000 students within our schools. And within our schools, 1 in 5, or 17% of students, are dyslexic, which is roughly about 3,000 students. There's a heavy caseload for our special education teachers. With the right tools and training, we can help students overcome their deficits in reading and close the achievement gap and promote high academic performance. In addition, a program that meets every student's needs. I stand before you today as a former Washington County student and future educator advocating for students with dyslexia. Advocating also for Orton Gillingham Plus. This program brings reading back to the fundamentals such as phonological awareness and decoding skills. I graduated, but not with the help of Washington County, but with the outside investments and sacrifices my parents made. My parents spent countless dollars, my parents spent countless dollars that is equivalent to a year of college tuition in attorney fees, outside tutoring, and educational testing. They helped me get to where I am today when needing the free and appropriate public education that I was promised. And I have spoken with many former and current parents with children who have dyslexia and stories similar to mine. When programs like Orton Gillingham Plus are available, we should be jumping at the opportunity to invest in something that will benefit our students and their education. These are our future leaders. We cannot let another decade go by with students getting inadequate services. Together, we can close the achievement gap, making reading a better experience for our students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, no, you first.
Good evening, President Zentmeyer and Dr. Sovine. My name's Ron Hare, former coach at Hancock High School. Thank you for letting me be here tonight and just bring attention to some of the things that have transpired and hopefully in the future can be not happen again to the kids up there. As an outsider of Hancock, it was hard for me to get everybody to believe in me, but we did become a family. And as a family, I feel that you protect your family, and that's what I do. I'm an advocate for those kids, and I always will be. If I don't stand up for the kids, nobody will, you know, and that's our job as adults to stand up for these kids. The issue at hand was, what led to everything was, you know, I was brought in an hour before our game, which is, first off, bad timing. You know, we're getting ready to go on the bus to our last game, and I wasn't brought in on any decisions. I was sat down with an assistant coach who shouldn't even have been in the meeting, but he was, and I was told that our exact words were, our kids are not good enough, they shouldn't be in the playoffs this year. To me, that cut right through me, and everything else to me was just like a blur. I'm sorry, it was a blur, but we discussed back and forth, and finally I said, is this your final decision? Can we talk about it after our game? No, it's the final decision. I'm like, well, I think it's wrong, you're mistreating these kids, and I'm not going to be a part of it, so I did resign. You know, I have had time to reflect on what could I have done better, you know, and I have reflected on that, and going forward, I will, you know, change the way I handle things, but a lot of things that sound up there, like uniforms, supposed to be replaced every 3 years. We had ours for 5 years. The money is allocated. Well, I had to pay $4,500 out of our football account, and the school only paid $1,500. Because softball and basketball for the girls get them every 2 years, and they're not supposed to. There's an assistant coach up there that is related to the principal, and I'm sorry, but he kind of runs everything. And it's tough for anybody else to do anything. But 5 years, these kids, and then the uniforms I ordered is not what we got. Uniforms we got are already ripped, $6,000 down the drain, because he got what he wanted. And I just felt like, as a head coach, for 4 years, I was never brought into any decision, not scheduling, not anything. As a matter of fact, there was an old assistant that I finally released that made the comment that I was just a figurehead, that assistant, and I'm not going to throw names out, but that assistant's actually running the other assistant. So that was thrown at me a few times. But that last game, I went home, changed clothes, told my wife I'm going to the game anyhow. I want to watch my kids play. As a spectator, I paid my money at Clear Spring. I went in, I sat down, never said a word to anybody, didn't look at the kids. The principal, which never goes to games, decides to come over, look at me and say, you need to leave. And I just said, what'd I do? I'll just go get the cops, she said. I'm like, what did I do, first off? So I was escorted out of a game that I paid to go in, that I did nothing wrong, and that's just not how you treat people. So I was made a criminal with a cop behind me, and that's not right. Walking me all the way through that stadium, because me and my wife decided to leave. It's about the kids. It's not about us. So we weren't going to sit there and argue. The parents got upset, but we just decided we're going to go. But I just want to bring attention because that's a tough combination when you have an assistant coach up there that is actually a coach, head coach for basketball, head coach for softball, and he's related to the principal. The fundraising money had to run through him. The music had to run through him. I was really nothing, and it's just not. It's not how situations should be handled, and I just don't want to see it happen to him again. Obviously, I'm not probably ever going to get to coach up there again, and it's sad because it's a great community. I love that community. I love the kids. We had it going in the right direction. People say, well, you were 3-6. Why should you play in the playoffs? Well, 4 of the teams we lost to all made playoffs. 2 of those teams played for the 1A semifinals. One of those teams actually went to the championship and played Fort Hill. We weren't as bad as our record, but we weren't given the opportunity to play like everybody else. You say about injuries. So she said, the principal sent out a letter, something about injuries. Do you know we were going to play Clear Spring? Well, guess what? We played them in the regular season. So what is so different about playing them in the playoffs? But the thing is, coaches should be brought in on those decisions. And I just think going forward, I hope that does happen because I just think it's a tragedy what happened to these kids. They deserved that game. They already lost their homecoming game, so they only got to play 8 games. For some kids like McCarty, he's going to college. That hurts him. That hurts him not getting that other game, not getting a chance to play in the playoffs. For me, I'll go on. I got an email from Dr. Sovine, and he's actually, look, he's right. I'm reflecting on what I can do better, and I'm going to do better. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My son never played football.
Can you speak into the microphone, please?
Oh, Lord.
Thank you.
So my son started playing football 4 years ago for the first time. They had 11 players. Over the 4 years, his senior year, they had 24 players with a new offense and defense. Coach Ron had T.Y. Johnson come volunteer his time to help the kids get better. He opened the gym, the weight room 2 times every day, Monday or in the morning and evening. He did summer 7-on-7s. He actually advocated for the players and did anything and everything that he could to help these players be better. Coach Ron would even go to things to better himself as a coach for his players. He asked his players at the beginning of the year what they could do for team input. And Todd's response to what the kids had to say was, it was stupidity. Todd never really cared about the team's stats, didn't even turn them in. He wouldn't even attend the
team meals that we had every Thursday that Coach Ron started when he came to the school. And then for the principal, assistant principal, and Todd to make the statements that our kids were not good enough nor deserving to go to the playoffs was wrong. That was said about my son. He's a senior. He don't play sports for Hancock anymore. He gave up. He's done because they don't want to play for Todd. He don't want to, or for any of them coaches. There's so many coaches at that school that's not for our kids at all. They're there for the paycheck and that's it. They're never going to be state champions because the coaches don't care enough to put that much into them. Look at our girls basketball team. It's sad the way that our kids get put on the back burner so much. When you look at the way some of those letters are wrote, just look at the wording and how they're taught too. We have teachers telling our kids, specifically mine, that he was a waste. He sat in ISS for 4 days. My son was targeted by these people. After the Clear Spring game, he wasn't allowed to take his uniform home, wash it. None of that. The other kids were allowed to. I turned it into the board. They did an investigation, they said, and that I wasn't targeted because it was over the weekend. But it would never happen again. Todd made threatening statements about me on a Facebook post that I posted, and he took a screenshot of it and said, "She's mine," before this even started. This is a gentleman that is working with our kids. I have screenshots. I can send you the proof. I think I sent it to a few already. That's kind of threatening statements from a coach that's handling kids. And you go to the school and you talk to them and try to do what's best for our kids, and they don't care. You get the same little response that every other parent gets in an email. Like, when do our kids matter? When do they come first? When do they get heard? Because they're scared to even come down here and talk to anybody because they're going to get nitpicked out at the school. Now my son all of a sudden don't live in Washington County, and he had to show proof that he lives in Washington County. It just don't stop with him. Our kids deserve better. Him and his wife gave so much to that school. We never had a coach ever come into our school and do what he's done for any of our athletes. Start the team meals, take them to 7-on-7, paid for the Ravens 7-on-7, and we went there a couple times, and he paid out of pocket. Took us to Rocky Gap. I mean, just to try to team build. Half the time, Todd didn't even show up for any of that. He showed up for 2 team meals. That's not being a part of a team. If you're a coach, you should be there. You're being paid as a coach, first off. Show up for your kids. This is about the kids. And I feel until he's gone, and our kids are never going to come first at that school. They're never going to matter. Sports are never going to matter.
Thank you.
Hello. First of all, I appreciate you and thank you for letting me speak on behalf of the Hancock community. And
Can you pull the mic a little bit closer? Thanks.
is that better?
That's all.
I want to thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak on the behalf of the Hancock community and Hancock football team. I'm a volunteer assistant coach for the football team. I've done that for the last 2 years. Prior to that, I helped Coach Ron here with keeping stats. I would film the games for him so that they could review the games at a later date. So I've got to know him really, really well. and such a good man, such a good man. His heart's in the right place, puts the kids first, as he's already talked about that. But I think, in my opinion, the biggest problem I see in the struggles that Coach Ron has had over the past 4 years, he is not giving the respect or the consideration of being a head coach. Now, I was an athlete in high school, played various sports many years ago. The head coach, when I played sports, called the shots. The assistant coaches were just that, assistant coaches. They were there at the direction of the head coach on how to run the football program, or any sport for that matter. Unfortunately, it's not that way in Hancock. When Coach Ron started up there his first year, he wasn't the head coach. He wasn't given the responsibility and respect of a head coach. The assistant coach, Todd Rupenthal, called all the shots. Still does to this day, 4 years later. Now, is it because he's coached for 20 years and he's earned that? Possibly. Is it because he's related to the principal? Possibly. I don't have an answer for that. But I do know that he has been given full reign and makes all the decisions. To me, that's the head coach's responsibility, is to make those decisions. An assistant is to buy into the program of the head coach and assist him in the program and making a better program. And it's just not that way. As Coach Ron said, the timing of telling these kids they're not going to the playoffs was very, very poor timing. The hours before the last game of the season, you're told you're not going to the playoffs. Your kids aren't good enough. Well, that hurts my heart to tell a kid you're not good enough to play. It really does. Coach Ron's been there for the kids. His heart's in the right place. I've only had 2 years' experience as a volunteer assistant coach under him, and he's taught me a lot. And the main reason I'm here is for the kids, and I really felt this year we had a really good team and we deserved to go to the playoffs. The kids had made improvements. The record shows it. The stats show it. And they were really, really looking forward to going to these playoffs. Win or lose, they don't care. They're a team. They enjoy playing the game. They have a love of the game. It's not about winning and losing for them. It's about the experience. It's about the life lessons that they learn, not just in football, but outside of football. The team meals that we had, the team building, the stopping on the way home from a 3-hour trip in McDonald's. It's just the things that they remember about football is not wins and losses. It's not. And these kids really deserved this opportunity this year. And it was taken away at a very poor time. And I have to say that the kids, am I done? Okay. Thank you again. Thank you.
Before you start your arbitrary and capricious timer, you guys have a pattern and practice of allowing people to speak longer than 5 minutes who you agree with. I'm here speaking on behalf of 3 other parents. I'm going to try and be as quick as I possibly can. First, a good family friend, Tamar here. She's going to give a speech about the plight of disabled children at the hands of WCPS. by and through a historical story that has significant relevance to exactly what happened to my disabled son at the hands of that man and the previous board. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Tamar at my sinister here.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, President Zentmeyer, Superintendent Sovine, board members, good evening. I'm here, as Mr. Porter stated, as a friend of the Porter family, an advocate of Sean Jr., who is a joyful, vivacious, smart, and sweet 5-year-old boy. Sean is also deaf. Through either laziness, incompetence, or greed for federal funding of disabled children, his application to the Maryland School for the Deaf was slow-walked until such time as he was able to transfer. He was warehoused in a class for juvenile delinquents. I can tell you, as a 30-year member of the Maryland Bar, juvenile delinquents can commit any crime that you see of adults. He was with, poor little Sean at the age of 4, was with 12-year-old violent monsters. The staff was not trained to handle deaf children, did not know American Sign Language. There were no child psychologists present, and they had no way to communicate with Sean, and he had no way to communicate with them. He was beaten on a daily basis by the violent monsters. He tried his best to defend himself, but a 4-year-old deaf child against the 12-year-old juvenile delinquents, I think we can all picture how that went. At that time, he was then sent to the back of the classroom with a coloring book. His education completely abandoned, and there he sat every day in the back of the class with a coloring book to kill time. Let me repeat myself, folks. He was sat in the back of the class with a coloring book to kill time. Now, this type of thing does not happen, as we have heard this evening, just to Sean. Other children are abandoned by the educational system. There was another little girl, also deaf and with some other disabilities, not in Washington County, south of here, who had been abandoned by her local public school. She, because she couldn't communicate, screeched, ran around, poked people. She just couldn't do anything, and the school gave up on her. They contacted the parents, and they said, you're just going to have to take her home. And in those days, they didn't even talk about homeschooling, and that really wasn't a possibility. She was so far gone. They said, most likely she will have to be institutionalized. That the parents hired a tutor, and the tutor worked with her on communication through language. Communication through language. She learned to speak, she learned to read, and she learned to write. That little girl eventually graduated, more successful than any of us. She graduated from Harvard. She became close friends with the likes of Samuel Clemens, of course, Mark Twain, Charlie Chaplin, and Eleanor Roosevelt. This little girl met every U.S. president from Grover Cleveland through LBJ. That little girl was Helen Keller. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and Merry Christmas.
For legal reasons, she's going to get as far away from my speech as she humanly possibly can. Okay, so the first thing I want to bring up is you need to stop Coach Custer from bullying Derek Dyer's 10th grade daughter. This is your last warning. Don't do it. Coach Custer has been reported by multiple parents for bullying children at Clear Spring High School. It needs to stop. Anybody that's having problems with coaches, teachers, or anybody who's afraid to go to the school board and come up here and speak, I will take on the burden of doing it for you. You can email me any information you have about problems you're having with WCPS at the hands of David Savine at justthetips@usa.com. I will be glad to forward it to the board. If they don't take care of it, then I will come in here and it will be not a good situation. Anyhow, I'd like to thank all the voters that threw the scumbags out that were causing all the problems. I would like to reiterate that I don't like Dr. David Savine. I would like to warn all the parents listening to this right now. Dr. David Savine, instead of hiring from within and promoting from within WCPS, has been going to Montgomery County to hire principals. The reason why is that's where you find gay communist groomers like Mr. Putt in Frederick County, Virginia. You may have seen on the news where a principal was promoted from teacher directly to principal by Dr. David Savine, a guy by the name of Putt. That was before Dr. David Savine left Frederick County Public Schools and came to Washington County Public Schools. And Mr. Putt set up a LGBTQ plus flex class, and it was for love of LGBT whatever. I'm not into acronyms. It's ridiculous. This class was essentially a counselor that Putt put in charge, talking to 11, 12, and 13-year-old boys at the middle school Putt was in charge of about gay sex. So you have a mid-40s counselor talking about cocksucking with 11, 12, and 13-year-old boys. I don't think that's appropriate, but that is par for the course with Dr. David Savine. And he's continuing to do that in WCPS. All these problems you're having with principals that think they can do whatever they want, violate people's civil rights, defame people by having them removed from sporting events under threat of arrest. I mean, it's ridiculous. You guys, your attorney is either incompetent or is not paying attention. The amount of tortious actions going on at WCPS it's really remarkable how stupid and ignorant Dr. David Savine has been running the day-to-day operations in conjunction with the last board. Again, I would like to thank the citizens of Washington County for voting them the hell out of office. They had no business being near our children, trying to groom them to grow up to be LGTB whatever plus individuals for no reason. Right now, going viral on Facebook, I know you don't know this because this is happening now, is everyone is pissed off and outraged over a transgender flag at Smithsburg Middle. I don't know any of the context. All I know is there's a picture of it up on the wall above a sign that says librarian, like a door, and it says librarian. So people don't want that. Also, E. Russell Hicks is transitioning children. So you have a friend of mine, I don't want to give too much information because it'll identify the student, but essentially you have a student that was transitioned by the school. They even had forms ready to change the name to a fictitious name not recognized by the courts, not a name change through the state of Maryland in any way, shape, or form. E. Russell Hicks, this is an 8th grader, okay, who is now changed the name to from one sex to another. I'm not trying to out this particular child. But long story short, that just happened. That's going on right now. So we elected a new board to fix these problems, and I do understand you're playing catch up with a very long laundry list of problems left from the previous board. But I do see one problem still sitting here right in front of me right now, and that's Dr. David Savine. He is a pedophile. Vel non. Period. Vel non. Pedophile. Vel non. You only have a track record of people who are trying to groom our children and people who are pushing gay, transgender crap down every single crevice of our children's throats. It's disgusting. They're under 18, don't talk about sex. It's real simple. I don't talk about straight sex with my straight child under 18. I don't want to talk about gay sex to my straight child under 18. There is reproductive health, that is a curriculum. Stop it with all this trying to tell kids they're boys or girls and girls are boys and you can switch genders. It's nonsense. The whole world has rebuked that way of thinking. There is no such thing as transgender children. There are people who have issues, mental issues. but by and large, it's being pushed by the teachers' unions and elements in the Democrat Party. It is not recognized by science. Stop teaching it to children. It's not acceptable. I'm not done yet.
Sean.
I was badly defamed by Stan Stauffer at the last meeting, and I am going to address that matter before this board. Stan Stauffer said myself and Miss Parkman, a mother of a disabled child, her son's name is Prince, not the artist formerly known as Prince. Anyway, Stan Stauffer said we represented other entities within the county. That is defamation. You tried to silence, not you guys, the previous board tried to silence the legitimacy of our concerns as parents of disabled children who have been harmed by WCPS by going around saying we represent other entities within the county. Who in the hell wants me to represent them, let alone an entity or an organization? I am being bashed by the Democrats. I'm being bashed by the Republicans. Obviously, I'm doing something right because I'm only concerned about my kids and my friends' children. The bottom line is I represent myself. I represent my son. Also, County Commissioner Randy Little Wiener Wagner called me out and said that I only came to these meetings for YouTube views and for money from YouTube. I get $0 from YouTube.
Excuse me, sir, your time is up.
Who are you?
Please step aside. Your time is up. Everyone else here is playing by the rules. You need to go. I'm sorry. This time is up.
Okay, rules that are ordinary, are arbitrary.
Everybody here has agreed that everyone gets 5 minutes.
Nobody agreed to that.
Agree to that, I know I didn't agree to that, and I am an attorney in the state of Maryland.
You have a pattern in practice.
In the First Amendment. I suggest you step back before you.
Are you an attorney too, like she is?
And a lawsuit.
I'm sorry, I'm listening to April
I
Zentmeyer.
do that for a living.
She's a lawyer.
I'd like to make a motion to recess.
Because I do that for a living.
We don't have a police officer here.
And we don't agree on any of this.
We need the police officer.
You need to step away.
You have to let me finish. You let everybody else finish for the last year. You have a pattern in practice and of course the conduct of letting people talk longer than 5 minutes.
Mr. Porter, that's why we have the time now.
It's because of viewpoint. She is on the opposite side of the viewpoint spectrum. That is why she's up here causing a scene. I'm going to finish my statement, so help me God. I'm going to finish.
By the previous board.
You guys assassinated my character, not you, but the board did.
And should not be addressed. Shame on you.
Go ahead and finish.
I'm redressing my grievances with WCPS right now.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so anyway, I'm going to finish up here.
Talk all you want. I'm an Air Force veteran, and I do not get intimidated by the life of you.
Sean, can you go ahead and finish?
I'm going to finish.
Go ahead.
You stop the whack job over here from interrupting my speech.
Just, would you please sit down? Both of you sit down and let Sean finish.
It's a rant, whatever you want to call it. I'll finish talking later.
It's freedom of speech. It's the First Amendment. Maybe you need a recall back to the schools.
So anyway, you let people go for 10 minutes all the time before previously. I'm sorry. I'll explain the legal principle behind that to you later, but it would be viewpoint discrimination to cut me off before I'm done. I'm going to finish. So now that I have the floor and I'm going to finish, my free speech was stifled by teachers union advocate John Barr. He actually tried to pass a law, a county ordinance, to silence people from speaking impolitely or rudely during public meetings. He also tried to silence the rights of people to put political messages on their shirts with a countywide ordinance dress code. So John Barr helped the teachers union try to silence the free speech that was costing the teachers union candidates the election, which it did. Furthermore, Jeff Kid Killer Klein, a guy who killed a kid in a DUI accident and doesn't even care, lectured me about using naughty, no profanity words before my speech before the county commissioners. So I've had the government line up all teachers union sponsored candidates and try and silence and defame me, and it will not stand without answer. And I mean, I will go after anyone that interrupts my free speech or seeks to defame me. Don't try me. And in the meantime, this guy is your problem. We need this guy gone. Savine, you will listen to these newly elected board members. We elected them. Do what they say or you will be terminated. And you have grounds to fire him for cause and breach of contract. You don't have to wait for his contract to expire. You can go after this guy now. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas.
I think she's next. You're next.
My name is Nancy Evans, and I don't agree with anything he said. And Dr. Savine, I think you have cause for a lawsuit.
Nancy,
Mrs. Evans?
could you
please
put your
sign-
name on? Thanks.
Hello. Appreciate your time this evening. My name is Denise Joyle, and I just wish to reiterate an email that I sent to the board earlier this week. It's been my understanding that there's been some parents who have been complaining about and trying to remove a sign from the library at Smithsburg Middle School indicating that all are welcome. And I just want to let you know that being part of the Smithsburg community has made my students and myself as a parent feel very special. I'm happy to say that it's a very open and supportive community of caring educators. It was brought to my attention that some parents have complained about the librarian in posting this sign of inclusivity in the library, stating that everyone is welcome. And I want you to know that children, especially at that middle school age, often find difficulty fitting in. And I feel it's really wonderful for the librarian to make this small gesture to ensure that everyone feels welcome, especially children of that age. Inclusivity for middle school children is vital to their success in school and life. It's imperative to foster a positive learning environment to ensure that every child feels valued. Our ability to focus outward on tasks is often driven by our ability to appreciate ourselves inwardly. When our morale is high, there's nothing we cannot achieve. So bravo to the educator who recognizes that small gestures can make great things happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else?
I wasn't planning on saying anything, but I really feel like I need to. I'm Benito of Atlanta. Thank you, President Zentmeyer, Dr. Savine, and the rest of the board. Congratulations on being elected. I sat here and I just listened to something that stirred in me to come up and speak for a few minutes. I spent Air Force intelligence and a bunch of years in the intelligence community before I moved up here in 2002. And the last 18 years, I've been a Washington County business person. About 16 years ago, I became president of the Maryland Theater Board. And I want to share something, an analogy or something to that effect. I remember when I took over the theater board, there was a lot of history that the theater couldn't be rebuilt. And there was a lot of negative thoughts from history that it had been tried before and it wasn't going to go any further. And I want to tell you what I see in Dr. Savine. I see the same spirit of what I found in the people that rallied together to rebuild the Maryland Theater. And I really feel there's better hope than what I've heard here tonight. You can't change history overnight. Dr. Savine is not the product of years and years of maybe issues that have been challenging to the special needs community of Washington County. My grandson has autism. And years ago, they said when he was 6 years old, he'd never speak English, he'd never function properly, and we had no hope. My wife and I rallied again around him. It was in Alabama. And today, he's a 12-year-old who's first chair violinist, speaks amazingly, is amazingly talented. He got unlocked because we had hope. And about 2 years ago, I approached Dr. Savine and said, there's got to be hope in Washington County. And you know what? For the last 2 years, I don't know him. For the last 2 years, he has spent weekly with me, bringing teachers together, talking about it, bringing the Washington County hospital community together, the medical community, parents together. And what you don't hear is all the quiet conversations that this man and his team, his leadership team is having in this county to change a history that he inherited. So I'm just going to encourage the board to think very carefully about what you hear. I'm not saying that problems didn't happen. But what I do find in the last 2 years I've been working with this man is a person and his team that cares, and that for the first time I'm hearing there's hope, that change is going to happen. I want to applaud the previous board and yourself and a few others here that approved Functional Elementary being converted for a full-time therapeutic center for all special needs. That's a good beginning. Don't give up. We are starting on a new path. I'm not even a resident of Washington County. I'm a business person that cares. And I really feel the spirit that I find in this man sitting in front of me is not represented here tonight. So I applaud you for the first steps that we've taken in the last 2 years. Thank you so much. I say we just keep working together, speak to the truths, the facts, the reality. I'm not saying things didn't happen, but I really think we're on a much better path than we've ever been before. And what I fear is a move to change by some and give up. So I just want to say thank you, Dr. Savine. I don't know how you guys sit up here sometimes and you obviously care about the community like I did. I remember I was called and they said, Benito, you're president, what do you know about rebuilding a theater? And I said, absolutely nothing. But I'm going to try to bring people together and we're going to make a difference. We're going to work together and really the community rallied together. And down at Potomac Street, we have a rebuilt beautiful theater. There's hope in Washington County for so many other things. We have a brand new baseball stadium. There's a lot of things good that are happening here. And I really think, and I sat here about several months ago, and I've got 48 seconds, and I sat with a bunch of other leaders talking about the vision of the school system, and there's a strategic plan. And I was actually amazed. I got to sit with amongst a lot of other business people and hear about a lot of people that really care. So thank you for the vision of having that plan. And I just want to keep working together. That's all I have. So thank you for all that you've done, the board that came before you, and let's keep working together because there really is a chance to do something much, much different, but it's going to take a lot of work. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Hi, my name is Emma Joyle. I am 17 years old and I attend Smithsburg High School. So I am here to add on to what my mother said previously about the sign in the Smithsburg Middle School. I believe that I believe it is important to mention that I am a straight woman, and I do question the relevance of that, but I know some people in the room will think that I'm advocating for myself, and I'm not. I'm advocating for the people around me and the people and the generations below me. I could start this in two ways. I could mention how everyone is welcome in this room and is welcome to attend this meeting, but I am sad to say that I don't feel like I can easily say that due to a sign saying that everyone is welcome was taken down. And whenever it illustrated a gay flag, not a trans flag like that other gentleman said, it just said everyone is welcome. And then whenever that got taken down, the librarian chose to put up another sign that just said everyone is welcome. Sure, it had the name everyone in rainbow colors, but a rainbow could mean anything. If you see a 4-year-old wearing a shirt with a rainbow on it or a unicorn on it, you are not going to assume that they're gay. So I would like to put us, on a lighter note, into a situation of, imagine the first day of 6th grade, and you don't know many people, and you're sitting at a table with complete strangers. Imagine being in a class in middle school. Like, picture yourself in there, close your eyes and imagine it, please. And imagine it with your least favorite teacher, someone that you just, like, you're getting weird vibes from. And they're gonna ask you a get-to-know-you question, and it's gonna be the hardest question you're gonna get asked all year. What's your favorite cookie? Now, I asked my mother this question in the car earlier. She said chocolate chip. I would happen to agree with her. But imagine that someone said that they enjoyed snickerdoodles. Oh, well, if you enjoy snickerdoodles, you aren't allowed to be in my classroom. You're not welcome here. Snickerdoodle lovers, no peanut butter. You have to like chocolate chips, otherwise you are not allowed in my classroom. You are not allowed in my library. Imagine you are the only person in the whole room who likes whatever cookie, and everyone else likes a cookie different than yours. And imagine everyone whispering and laughing about your cookie choices freshly at 12 years old. And I've been embarrassed in school before, so I think that everyone can say that if they've been embarrassed in a situation like that, imagine feeling like that every day of your entire life. Imagine not feeling welcome in a place that is supposed to bring you up and show who you are as a person and develop who you are as a being. Obviously, a teacher would not be asking about any child's sexuality, and if they are, then that would be a problem. But that's not what this is about. I'm not a teacher. I'm a cookie expert. And I want to know what your favorite cookie is. And if everyone else disagreed with you, imagine feeling that shame of not having the same favorite cookie as everyone else. And imagine being made fun of for it for the entire rest of your high school career. I want you to really consider your own cookie choice. And I want you to imagine that if everyone else chose something different and you're left alone with no cookie allies, how stupid that sounds. I would like to mention a situation similar to the flag being taken down that occurred in my freshman year when I had a non-binary teacher who taught my geometry math class. They had a flag up that illustrated that everyone was welcome in their classroom, and I know that very many people felt comfortable in that room. They supported the LGBTQ community, and on similar grounds, they had to take it down because someone got upset about it. And as a high school student, I personally do not care who likes chocolate chip cookies, or snickerdoodle, or peanut butter. I care if you're kind and if you believe in what is being right. If you believe in God and you are a person who is willing to better yourself in His name, then you will need to take this opportunity to be kind. I know that you have the power to change someone's outlook on life and their ability to feel comfortable in a classroom. You have the opportunity to make that choice that makes a kid feel less welcome in a place that's supposed to help them grow and figure out who they are. But you also have the choice to embrace who they are as a person and support them through their decisions that they make through their lifetime. If you make a decision on behalf of equality and fairness, then you have my respect. But in my personal opinion, it is absolutely heartbreaking that it's even a choice. I hope that you not only listen to me and what I had to say, but I hope that you hear me and see me for who I am and what I stand for. And I hope everyone in this room will reflect on their choice of cookie and understand that everyone's a human. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? All right. Oh.
Good evening. I'm Ethan Lowen, and I was not intending to speak tonight either, but some of the things that have been discussed, and it's not clear cut necessarily one way or another, because there certainly are issues, but talking about the like with the child that I guess is being transitioned, the name has been changed, the administrators changed the name of the child because of their belief that the child should be a different gender. And one of the things that is disturbing about this is aside from the issues about what is transgenderism, and I discussed some studies even just relatively recently by the American Pediatric Association that shows that it's actually quite damaging to children. I'd be happy to review that study. However, one of the things is about close to 2 years ago, I was at a community meeting, and I believe one of the newly elected board members was at that community meeting with me. And one of the things that I had talked about was the fact that our public schools are in a situation where they actually can change children's names to a different gender if they so choose. And the local newspaper commented on that, wrote an article on that, and asked for a response from the school district. And the school district gave a response that they printed, and basically the school district said, essentially, no. Well, apparently it's happening. And that's highly disturbing. Essentially, that is the government taking over the lives of children, and just casting parents to the side. That is tyranny. I mean, is that not the definition of tyranny? And before, because obviously it's a much maligned name in this room, and I don't know that it is deserved. I don't have the knowledge to know. So I just want to start out by saying that, Dr. Sovine, we have a mutual friend who knows you and your family. And this person is a senior person in public education, and I trust this person's judgment. And when I asked this person about you, just had nothing but glowing words to say about you personally, professionally, your family. But to what other people have said, you know, when you did a public meeting and at South High, and a mother asked you, said, you know, what would you do if my child, you know, you determined that my child should be a different gender? What would you do? And you said, well, I'll have the attorney talk about that. And then the board attorney stood up, and the board attorney said, well, no policy has been voted on by the board, and so we're going to follow the state's guidelines. Attorney sat down. That was it. That was a non-answer. I mean, essentially what the message was is, you know, we'll do to your child what we want to do, and you will just be okay with whatever we want to do. Those are clearly disturbing. Clearly disturbing. And the thing is that this election that just recently happened was really, in our state, probably one of the more larger historic changes in elections in our state's history. You know, it wasn't just that the teachers union has their candidates, and they basically, when people complain about the public schools, they're complaining about policies that come from the teachers union. And the teachers union controls over 70% of the school board candidates, which is a supermajority, and that's why things are the way they are. And for the first time ever, the Democratic Party in our state joined the teachers union and said, we're going to keep the teachers union candidates in. And it was a total wipeout, not just in our county. In the county to the west of us, that borders us to the west, it was an equally large wipeout in a county that is so much strong, even more strongly Democrat, voting along with the teachers union. And the message is clear. Parents don't want it. They don't want a tyrannical school district or a school district that appears to be tyrannical. But based on things that have happened, it's not just appearances. And so the parents' concerns are extremely legitimate. And I think there needs to be a recognition that the people have spoken, and they want academics. They want education. They want the wanton violence to end. They want order, structure, and discipline in the classroom. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Lowen. Have I missed anybody? Okay. So now we move to board comment.
I'd like to go first, if I could. First of all, Dr. Savine, can a school change a child's name in the records if the parents don't give permission?
Our structures provide, we work collaboratively with parents.
Now, a nickname may be given. I know my grandson preferred Joseph when he was in elementary school, but then changed it to Joe when he was in high school, but it wasn't on his permanent records. I will say that I think that every child that walks into a Washington County public school needs to feel safe. They need to feel welcome. Too many times kids are outcast, and that causes many, many problems. You can call me woke. I don't care. I know for a fact when I was at early voting that some other people were telling people that I was talking to, don't vote for those people on that Apple ballot. No, 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 they're going to do this. They're going to let boys go in girls' bathrooms. They're pedophiles. I mean, is that how you really want to win an election? I don't think so. So, I also want to say this. I'm a Christian, and I believe that God is the final judge. And I believe in what Jesus taught me, that I am to treat others like I want to be treated. And that's how I feel about every student in Washington County Public Schools. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'd be willing to bet that no one in this room knows it, but I've been living here in Washington County for in Maryland for about 18 or 19 years now. And when I started teaching at Meade High School in Anne Arundel County, I was fortunate enough to be able to be the baseball coach. When I coached at Meade High School my first year, I literally had to teach students, players, that they had to go to first base before third base. They didn't know. They never played, never watched the game, nothing. And there I was, I had literally just 2 years earlier played for a national championship in college. And here I am thinking I'm coaching a high school team and I'm gonna get to go and just go right at it and help them get better and not have to worry about the fundamentals. And boy, was I wrong. And I will say, needless to say, that that was a very difficult year. And just like Hancock, we had 3 wins that year. But in baseball, there's more games played. Also, that was, I don't know if that was the first year, but for me, it was the first year, because it's my first year coaching, that every team made the playoffs. We didn't have to worry about being told we couldn't play. And I'll be honest with you too. There were a lot of good teams in Anne Arundel County and good, rich baseball county. And we went out because we were at the time a 3A school. Now Meade High School is one of the biggest in the state, I think. But we went out and we played Wild Lake High School in the first round. And people thought we were going to get throttled by them. They were a far superior team when you looked at the record. You know, we lost by 1 run on a suicide squeeze in the very bottom of the 7th inning. And the following year, very similar results. We had won a couple more games, but that year we won our very first playoff game. And going back to me personally, if it wasn't for baseball, I would have never went to college and I would never been sitting here today. And my heart goes out to the players, the coaches, the families that had to deal with that. Quite frankly, I'm ashamed that that decision was made. I feel as though I let you guys down as a board member because I feel as though that should be something that's policy. So I appreciate you guys bringing this to our attention. And if I'm right, if this is policy, if someone could tell me why it's not, then so be it. I hope that Dr. Savine will make changes, but this to me sounds like a policy on when our kids' seasons are. You know, I think that's something that should be done. So from the bottom of my heart, I truly do apologize. You know, if it wasn't for sports, I wouldn't be sitting here. It provides opportunities. The way the young lady spoke about with her issues with dyslexia. There's, you name it, any of our extracurricular activities are just that, extracurricular, and they give kids a reason to want to be in school. And so again, I truly apologize, and I personally think that, and I'll just ask these rhetorical questions for my fellow board members and for staff. You know, how many people that were involved in the decision to not let them play in the playoffs, how many of those people were in the locker room on a daily basis? Who started the conversation and why? You know, if that's accurate, that it was because students could get hurt, well, you know what? Kids could get hurt on the first game of the season too. So if that's the logic, then they shouldn't have had a season. I just don't see any logic to support why you guys had to deal with what you dealt with. And I apologize, and I feel as though I, as a board member, failed you. So I will try better.
I kind of was just elected when this whole thing with Hancock went down, and so a lot of it I read in the newspaper, and then I had people contact me, and I too feel really bad about what happened. My thought was how them kids must have felt. They're not kids, they're young men. Young men, I don't know if you have any girls on the team, but they're young men. And I just think we should expect more from our leaders in our schools, and they need to take into account their actions. You know, on the issue with the Smithburg sign, I care about everyone. The Smithburg school sign that sits out in front of the school should be that welcome sign to everyone. There are certain policies in place that prevent, for good reason, certain things being placed around the school. But the way I look at it, whether it's Boonesboro, that Boonesboro high school or middle school should be the welcome everyone sign. And it should be a sign that says that all are welcome, and every student and every teacher should be held accountable to treat every student the same, respectfully. You know, I just don't understand this idea of segregating into groups. So, you know, there might be some things that are being said about me personally, but I can tell you, I've done foster care. I've dealt with all kinds of young people, and I don't care whether you're straight, gay, trans, what you are, I still will respect you as an individual. So that's all.
So the whole reason that we have, I think the problem at hand with Hancock is because the MPSSAA says that everyone can play no matter what their win or loss streak is. I think that that provides a problem, because then we are asking the people who are supposed to advocate and be there for our children to then make that decision and determine their worth. And then I think this is the result. I think that going forward, now that we see that it's broken, we need to incorporate the head coach, we need to incorporate the players and the parents. We need to have more of a collaborative conversation. Then they can explain, like, we're worried that people are gonna get hurt, and then the parents can say, we understand, this is what we want to do. My heart hurts for the Hancock community, because I feel that Ron has really brought a lot to our community, and I personally would like to see some sort of way that you can be put back in the position that you resigned from, because I think in the heat of the moment, it's understandable that, you know, sometimes things happen, and out of frustration, you say something. I think the entire thing was handled poorly, so I think that we should give you grace in that and give you the option, because I am worried that we won't have a team. You've built a connection with those students, and I think it might do some good to mend that fence and give the students somebody that they feel they have in their corner.
Mr. Gasser.
Thank you. I have spent the last 6 weeks speaking with many family members, community members in Hancock, because I have a lot of friends up there that have called me and asked me to speak on this. So I just jotted a few things down. So first, I'd like to apologize to the Hancock community that planned to attend last month's school board meeting, but because of it being canceled, due to the board's past leadership, who preferred not to show up to the November meeting, you had to wait until tonight. And a lot of families had events already planned. I think this room would probably add about 50 people in there, but due to it as close to the season, with everything that's going on, they could not make it. So I think that's why I kind of fielded an awful lot of phone calls. I have a few thoughts about what happened at Hancock in November. When the Maryland Public Secondary School Athletic Association decided to allow all teams to participate in the playoffs, I think they chose to make the decision with the diversity, equity, and inclusion in mind, because they didn't want anyone left out of playing in the playoffs. When the decision was made that all football teams get to play in the playoffs, there should have been no question about the decision to let this team play. But the principal and the AD are to make the decision at the conclusion of the regular season. It was pointed out and it was done for the safety of the students in the upcoming sport season ahead. This is according to the letter that was sent out to the community by Principal Jennifer Rothenthal. School board members are not to get involved in school operations. But when so many parents and students and community members are affected by a decision, I feel it opens the door for us to weigh in. It is the parents' responsibility to make the decisions for their child. It's the school's responsibility to teach the child. We need to remember this moving forward and to stop trying to be the parent and be just teachers. We may not like the decisions parents make for their child, but we have to respect it. I find it strange that we would allow our students to play every game throughout the whole season with no concern for injury, but before the last game of the season was played, a decision would be made without speaking to the coach, the team leaders, and most important, the parents. I believe the parents and the coach should have had more involvement in that decision and to play in the playoffs. The decision was made before the students played their last game, which per the principal's email goes against the rule. I've recently found out that the week before the Clear Spring game, the athletic director was speaking to the coach about the playoff position that they would be in due to the forfeit. So what happened? When the coach was pulled into the office and told that he would not be playing in the playoffs, minutes before leaving to go to Clear Spring to play the last game of the regular season, to tell the coach before the last game is played that his team's effort wasn't good enough and that he must go out and tell his players that their work was not enough. Putting your coach in that position is a horrible feeling. It tells a picture about one's leadership skills. As a school board member for 10 years, if parents were concerned about the safety of the child due to neglect, lack of safety or precautions, I think we would have received some emails because we have had many emails about that. I received no such letters, not from Hancock, nor for any other high school. So I feel confident that each parent was aware of injuries that could have happened in the sports. With any sport, there is always risk of injury. But what was done to the players did more damage than a broken leg or an arm. We told our Hancock football team that they were not good enough. We crushed that team's spirit that night as they went on to lose 50-0. And why not? They had nothing to play for. They had nothing to hold their heads up about. They had nothing to look forward to either in the next day or the week to come. There was no playoff, no hope. The seniors that persevered all year working to improve their skills had the opportunity taken away from them. No story will be told other than the time the principal and the AD took our chance to play in the playoffs away from us. We took a dream, a memory from them that we'll never get back. On top of that, we damaged the parent-school relationship. We damaged the community relationships with the school leadership. The community has lost respect for our school leadership. I was told by one business owner that he wishes they would never come to his store ever again. With everything that Hancock has gone through in the last few years, where the parents and community have had to fight to save their school from closing, and then we treat them this way, this decision may have done more damage than we know. What did this one decision do to the football program? Well, would any player want to play for this school and this sport again, knowing the results? This coach of 30-plus years of coaching in the area he has built up a program where they were able to compete. This year's team with 3 wins, no matter what happened, should have been given that opportunity to play in the playoffs. I've heard many parents say they want to remove the leadership of the school since they have lost confidence in making common sense decisions. I must agree there should be some change. The coach, the players, the parents, and the community are upset with the results, and I don't blame them. The work that this team of young men and their coach did to bring back football program takes time. Now it will be an upstart all over again for this coach if he's reinstated. Hancock football program did not deserve this. The community of Hancock did not deserve this, and I hope that the coach will be back on the sideline this fall with more supportive leadership staff. And I do apologize from the bottom of my heart to the team and the players that will miss out their senior year. And for the families that spoke, I know you're crushed. I'm sorry.
I cannot thank you enough for coming tonight and expressing those concerns that you have. You are appreciated and you are always welcome here. Thank you. Since we have no old business, we're going to move on to new business with Mr. Scott Bagel. We're seeking to approve awards, renewals, and procurement.
Good evening, President Zentmeyer, members of the board, Dr. Sovine. Tonight I have 22 items for your review. The Purchasing Review Committee has reviewed these items, and staff is available if you have any additional questions.
Do you have a motion?
President Zentmeyer, I move to approve the awards, renewals, and procurements as presented in the consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do you have any discussion? Seeing none, move to the vote. All those in favor? That would be a unanimous 6. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Heath Wilcox is on line next. Executive Director of Secondary Schools and former colleague.
That's correct. Good evening, President Zentmeyer, Dr. Sovine, and board members. I am requesting approval of a donation of $11,000 to Boonesboro High School from the Nora Roberts Foundation to be used to support both the band and orchestra programs at Boonesboro High.
Do I have a motion?
President Zentmeyer, move to approve a gift of $11,000 from the Nora Roberts Foundation to be used to support both the band and orchestra programs at Boonesboro High School.
Is there a second? Second. All those in, do we have any discussion?
I would just like to say thank you, obviously, to Nora Roberts Foundation. I think we get so much money from her for Boonesboro that we might spend more at Boonesboro than we do at BISFA for this. So she is very much appreciated and a very valued member of our community.
Very much so. Any other comments? Then we'll move to the vote. All those in favor? Unanimously 6. Thank you very much, but you're still up.
I'm still here. Next, I am requesting approval of a gift of $15,287.60 from the SAT Fundraising Leading Edge Fundraising to support the North Hagerstown High School football program.
Do I have a motion?
President Zentmeyer, move to approve a gift of $15,287.60 from SAT Fundraising Leading Edge Fundraising to support the North Hagerstown High School football program.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Charlie?
Thank you, Mr. Burke. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to the vote. All those in favor? 6, unanimous. The motion carries, and you're up again.
I am requesting approval of a gift of $6,377.60 from the SAT Fundraising Leading Edge Fundraising to support the North Hagerstown High School flag football program.
Do I have a motion?
President Zentmeyer, move to approve a gift of $6,377.60 from SAT Fundraising Leading Edge Fundraising to support the North Hagerstown High School flag football program.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Cusker. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to the vote. All those in favor? Unanimously at 6. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Crew?
Good evening, Dr. Zentmeyer, members of the board, Dr. Sovine. The first matter I have before you this evening is approval of an advertising right for South Hagerstown High School Athletic Booster Club. The Board of Education entered into a memorandum of understanding with the Booster Club on April 16, 2024, allowing the Booster Club to identify entities that would be willing to place advertisements on the school facility in athletic venues, gymnasiums, and fields, with the funding from those being used then again for school athletic and educational programs. In your attachment, you can see in blue font are the vendors that had been previously approved. Tonight, I'm seeking your approval of the vendor in red with the location of a sign on the gym wall, and then you have a copy of what that sign will look like.
Do we have a motion?
President Zentmeyer, I move to approve the assignment of advertising rights as requested by the South Hagerstown High School Athletic Booster Club.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Mrs. Cusker. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to the vote. All those in favor? Unanimous at 6. Thank you very much. You're staying, so.
Can't get rid of me that quickly.
Okay.
The next item is a fiscal year 2025 budget adjustment. On November 19th, the Board of County Commissioners appropriated additional funds for a future school safety initiative. That funding was appropriated to support the purchase and onboarding of a new visitor management system, as well as 3 new school buses that are already have been ordered for this year for a total of $647,910. This reflection, as you may know and recall, the Annotated Code of Maryland requires us to reforecast revenues and expenses periodically throughout the year. This adjustment recognizes that allocation from the county commissioners. As we then sort the money to the proper account code to use for the future initiatives, we'll have a future adjustment for you. But for now, we just need you to recognize the revenue and receipt of the potential expense in the location where the county allocated the funds.
President Zentmeyer, I move to approve the proposed FY 2025 budget adjustments as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to the vote. All those in favor? Unanimous at 6. Thank you very much. You're still here. Go ahead.
Thank you. This matter is an approval of a contingency fund increase for the Williamsport High School roof replacement project. On July 25th, 2024, Dr. Savine advised the board of a problem with the roof replacement project at Williamsport High School. As the old roof membrane and wall caps were removed, the underlying brick and mortar on the parapet walls along the edge of the building, as well as the various building sections, had decayed. As a result, the existing brick was falling off the wall and would need to be replaced before the roof project would be completed. It is normal to have to repoint brick during roof replacement, but this occurrence was much more severe than what was normally encountered. The contractor initially provided an estimate of $694,000 to make the necessary repairs. Staff advised the superintendent that the work could be completed for less than $600,000, and a change directive was issued to keep the project moving and to ensure the safety of the building before the return of students in August. Under the change directive, the contractor was to keep complete record of all material and labor expenses, and the final price negotiations would be ongoing. The final cost for the identified work is $477,090.90. Board policy FEDA allows for contingency funds for change orders on all renovation projects up to 10% of the cost of the project. For this project, the contingency fund would have been capped at $294,189. There is one other change order authorized on this project, which is a credit for unused allowances that were included in the base bid, valued at $108,900. The required contingency then for this project is $368,190.90, which requires an increase of $74,001.90 above what is allowed by board policy.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve an increase in the contingency fund for the Williamsport High School roof replacement project by $74,001.90 to cover the cost of necessary work completed during the course of the project.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
So am I hearing that right, that this is work that's already been done, and we don't really have much of a choice but to approve it?
It was necessary work that had to be completed.
I understand.
Thank you. So, we'll move to the vote. All those in favor? Unanimous at 6. Thank you very much. We're seeking board member approval for the standing committee assignments given earlier. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the recommended standing committee assignments.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Too bad, you're on the committee. All those in favor? Unanimous at 6. Thank you very much. Which brings us back to you.
President Zentmeyer, at this time, I'd like to invite some of our team members, Mr. Mike Embley, Director of Food and Nutrition Services, and Chad Criswell, forward to, who's the Senior Project Manager of our Planning and Planning Supervisor, to provide an update regarding student enrollment and free and reduced meals eligibility rates. Thank you, team members.
Thank you. I will go through the presentation. I will try to be brief. If there's any questions, feel free to ask them. I'm more than happy to answer. I can tell you I will be back here probably in May when we review the enrollment projections. So we'll take the data that we're going through tonight and we'll go out to the schools. We'll get comments, and I'll go through that process very quickly here tonight to explain how we get there. So looking at last year to this year, every November, December, we come through and we compare where we were at this time last year. At the elementary level, we are up 95 students. That's about 1% of our total K through 5 enrollment. We had projected to be up around 50, so we're about 50 more than that. Some of that was due to what we would call rollover. So what rollover is when you have a large exiting class and a smaller or larger incoming class, you'll see an increase. So imagine if you had a class of 100 leaving 5th graders and you had 80 new kindergartners coming in the following year, automatically that school is going to go down 20 students. We also deal with in-migration, which is where we see class levels as they go, that same 80 kindergarten students as they go to 1st grade the next year, if it becomes 100, we saw an increase of 20. These are part of the factors that we look at as we look at enrollment counts and the enrollment projections. So this year we dealt with the rollover for the elementary grades K to 5, where we saw a little bit smaller coming in kindergarten. However, we saw in-migration in grades 1 and 2, where we saw a pretty good increase in students. I'll get to that here in a second and kind of explain it. But moving to the middle school level, we saw an increase of about 76 students. That was right what we had projected. And then as we went to the high school level, we were up by 60. And we were projecting to be flat and just slightly down at the high school level. So that came in as a little bit of a surprise, but still pretty much within the realm of expectations of where we would be. Overall, we're at 231 students more than what we were last year. Again, about 1% higher. As we look at the growth over the last 20 years, you can see that we have kind of a standard slope and a trend that we've followed up until we hit the COVID-19 pandemic, which is very noticeable on the chart and shows a decrease in 2020. But if you look at the following years, you can see that we're kind of right back on track, and we're now within about 221 of where we were in 2019. So if we stay within that track, next year we should probably get back to that level. Going back to our pre-K to 12 enrollment, the pre-K level, we were down 8 from where we were last year, but as these are programs, it's a little bit different than the conventional grades where we would see students, when they come in, they automatically enrolled. At the programs, we have a set number of seats, and we'll have waiting lists for students to come in on the programs. So that number kind of stays set and will actually fluctuate just a little bit differently throughout the year, which is why we break it out a little differently in this presentation. So going in and looking at the 3 grade levels, we can show you the trends of the elementary, the middle, and the high school. And I'll break each down. As you can see, we've seen an increase in the elementary level. As I indicated, we're up about 95 from where we were last year, K to 5. Looking at the different schools, pretty close. Only a couple areas that we really kind of looked at initially. Bester was up 36 students from where they were last year in the K to 5 levels. Last year they had dropped 38, so it was kind of a rebound for them. We saw Clear Spring go up by about 20 students. They had a small exiting 5th grade class and a large incoming kindergarten. And I'll get on that in the middle school portion here in a second. But looking at the balance of the elementary facilities, we saw Pangbourne up a little bit. That one's something we're going to probably go in and look a little bit more at our geographical information systems. There's no significant development in that area. There's not a lot of influx of in-migration, so we want to look and see where those students are coming from, and we'll be able to report back on that when we go through the enrollment projection process. But looking at the rest of the schools, Rockland Woods has come up as we've expected, as Westfields builds out, as some of the other developments like Claggett's Mill in the area builds out. It's all kind of expected. Same thing with Williamsport being down about 23. They had a large exiting 5th grade class, and we kind of had anticipated that as well. Moving on to the middle school enrollment, you can see the trend line for the past few years. We've stayed pretty flat over the past 4 or 5. Really no major surprises at the middle school level. Again, everything kind of came in. I'd mentioned the small exiting 5th grade class at Clear Spring Elementary. That transcends and is shown here as Clear Spring Middle goes down. They have a small incoming 6th grade. So no different than grades between the entire county. When we see it go from levels from an elementary school to a middle school or a middle school to a high school, these are the things that we look at when we do the projections so we can make appropriate staffing recommendations later on this spring. Going on to the high school enrollment, last year we started a new process where we started counting for state reporting the Boyd J. Michael students at their home school. So it shows Boyd J. Michael as having a 0 attendance and all the students being counted at their home schools. We report this to the state. However, for local use and for the board, we still provide the number of kids that are actually at Boyd J. Michael Technical High School. Looking at this, you can see that we saw just a small increase at Boonesboro and a small increase at North and South High this year, kind of in line with what we were projecting last May. Then we can move on to the special centers, Marsh Street and Job Development. Typically, this is always right around 80 students. That's typically what we have in these 2 programs. I think one year we got up to 85, but for the most part, it always sticks right around the 80. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Criswell. I actually only have one slide for the presentation. Each year, the Food and Nutrition Department, we work collaboratively with other departments here at WCPS. As Mr. Criswell mentioned, the official enrollment is based on September 30th, and then we look at their October 31st free and reduced status to calculate the compensatory education funding numbers, which is also known as the Comp Ed funding number. It takes the official enrollment of K to 12 students, does not include those pre-K students, and it actually, we same thing as he mentioned, all of those students are counted at their home school. Different than what we do for the USDA and the food and nutrition side. So Maryland's a little bit unique. We take those figures, we enter them into a form, we submit to MSDE, and that's how they calculate the funding for WCPS. This year, as you notice, we're up slightly, 0.4%. It totals 221 additional students eligible for free and reduced price meals this year. And with that, we'll open up for any questions that the board may have.
What we will do now is we will take this information and we'll start putting it forward into the enrollment projections for this coming year when we bring it back to the board as part of the upcoming facility master plan. We'll start working with our demographer to gain her input. We'll start working with principals. I'll be in contact with all of them here after the first of the year to find out what's happening at the schools, to see if there's any new programs, anything we should be aware of with developments, things like that. Again, so we can take it all into account for upcoming staffing decisions and things like that.
Does anyone have questions?
Yeah, so for you, Mr. Embley, the farms, you talked about how we get our funding for it. How do students qualify for it? Is it the federal government that determines what qualifies as free and reduced, or is that something at the state level, or?
So there's a number of ways. Students can be directly certified, meaning they get some type of benefit. We have our community eligibility schools. That calculation's taken into consideration, and then also those that are approved via the application. So those families that actually apply for free and reduced is all included in that calculation.
Because I just noticed, it was my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, this may not be accurate, I thought the federal government kind of determined what the criteria was to allow a student to qualify.
They do. They set the income eligibility guidelines.
Yeah, that's what I was talking
Absolutely.
about. Yeah.
Yes.
So is it, because, I mean, We talk about elections and, we go and look at the jump from 21 to 22. Is it reasonable to expect that the incoming administration will reduce or increase what the qualifications are and those numbers will go down?
It's something that we monitor closely anytime there's administration changes to look at what those trends could, and I think the one big thing you see is, during COVID, right after COVID, there was a spike.
Yeah.
There was also, Maryland does a Medicaid extension project. So there's a whole number of factors that can play into that. But you're correct. The federal government sets the income guidelines for those programs.
So do we have any way of helping students who may go off of the farms due to changes, or is it just expected that, we were giving too many benefits out anyway, and they'll be able to go and take care of it themselves?
Yeah, it's a good question. My team, we have a whole process prior to when your farm status will expire if you don't apply the first 30 days of operating in the school year. So we look at that data well before that expiration, and are working with school staff, sending outreach out to make sure we're capturing every person possible for that, to get that information.
Thank you.
I have a question. So is this used to determine Title I in any way? And what is the percentage they're typically looking for?
I would lean to see someone in the back of the room that might be able to assist with the Title I. Looks like Mr. Willow is able to answer Title I questions.
The answer is yes, and 75% or above is required.
Any more questions? Thank you so much, gentlemen. Dr. Savine, back to you.
Yes, President Zentmeyer, Mr. Embley, and Mr. Criswell, thank you for your attention to detail. We appreciate your annual report. Thank you. As I continue my superintendent's report, before I go into my prepared presentation, I want to take just a moment to make some comments, in particular regarding earlier in the evening, our public comment. I want to thank all of our public speakers that came out to share perspective on the school district. I want to mention that as a superintendent, I'm fortunate to be supported and surrounded by a very reflective and talented team, both here at central office and in our schools, over 3,500 employees that are committed to taking feedback, putting structures in place that is focused on continuous improvement and better serving our students. Our students are our focus. And we started this meeting this evening with highlighting our talented students. You think of the successes and how they were represented, how our teachers, National Board certified teachers, their investment in our students in our community. Proud of this community. Proud of the complexities that exist in this community. We have a dedicated staff, a staff that's continuously focused on growth and improving this community. Our students, and I wish our student speaker was here. I know at that age, there's no way I would have had the courage to get up and to speak so eloquently on a topic that many would probably consider to be controversial. We're in good hands with our next generation. And we're in good hands because we have dedicated educators really committed to making sure each and every one of our students are best served so they can reach their full potential. As I look back, I know earlier in the evening, we had a pretty significant number of our special educators that are here, and we still have a number that remain. I thank you for your commitment to serving our students and their parents some of our most vulnerable learners, a lot of complexities with all kinds of unique talent. Thank you. I want to thank our Hancock community for coming out and sharing perspective. I recognize that we had a number of speakers from the Hancock community that expressed their perspective on the football decision to not compete in the playoff games this season. I've had conversations with our board. There's been much reflection, and I'll just say in retrospect, the school level decision makers acknowledge they should have engaged in communication with the head football coach and team members early in the week before the final season game. That should have occurred. We recognize that. This is a practice consistent with other WCPS high school football teams who have made decisions not to compete in postseason play. Moving forward, Hancock will have a discussion about postseason play early in the week, as our other schools making this decision do. And certainly the coach and the players should be a part of that process. Our Hancock football team had a great season, and I want to extend my apologies to them that the communication around the postseason play decision in any way diminished their work. I had the pleasure in what turned out to be the next to last regular season game. I was in attendance at Hancock, and I saw a great level of community pride, and I saw a team play with great passion. And there was an excitement that just filled the stadium. And I want to extend my appreciation to those fans that supported me and expressed their appreciation. But most importantly, I want to thank our student athletes, our coaches, our parents, and the community that values the importance of small town. So thank you, and my apologies regarding that matter. I would like to now turn to my prepared presentation, and you'll see here we'll continue with the talents of our students, and this is quite a showcase. And I'll mention that this was also highlighted at a recent State Board of Education meeting. But last month we had the privilege of hosting State Superintendent Dr. Carrie Wright, along with the members of the Maryland Board of Education and the Accountability and Implementation Board as they visited the Boyd J. Michael III Technical High School. The visit was planned to enable the group to observe examples of successful initiatives that support the Blueprints career and technical education pillar. During the visit, the group was able to learn some specifics about the Little Eagles pre-K program and the biomedical science program. I was also able to share information about our Grow Your Own initiatives related to medical professions and education, as well as the many apprenticeship opportunities available to WCPS students that supports our local business needs. Our students in both the Teaching Academy of Maryland and the Academy of the Biomedical Sciences gave incredible presentations during the visit. Their passion and subject knowledge was quite apparent, and they represented our community exceedingly well. I recently had the honor of presenting 6 staff members with our inaugural Gold Compass Awards. It was mentioned earlier, our new strategic plan, Your Journey, Our Commitment. This new initiative recognizes 6 employees, each marking period, who are leading the way by exemplifying our core values, which include academic excellence, engagement, growth mindset, belonging, well-being, and community. The first honorees were Williamsport Elementary lead teacher Dr. Lisa Hatcher, who was recognized for leading the way in academic excellence, engagement, and growth mindset. The International Welcome Center multilingual community teacher specialist Sonia Venegas, who was honored for leading the way in engagement, well-being, and community. Then Boonesboro High School history teacher Ashley Vasick, who received the award for leading the way in academic excellence. Sharpsburg Elementary head custodian Vic Crable, who was recognized for leading the way in belonging and well-being. Then Pangbourne Elementary ESP Dottie Grueller, who was honored for leading the way in growth mindset, belonging, and well-being. Last but not least, Emma K. Dowd Elementary Principal Dr. Stacy Henson, who received the award for leading the way in engagement, belonging, and community. I want to recognize and lift up these award winners for living our strategic plan through demonstrating our core values, as you see there. Lastly, or next to last, in an effort to showcase the artistic talents of our students and staff, we held our first WCPS holiday card contest this year. Students and staff were invited to submit their original artwork featuring a winter seasonal theme, with the winter entries appearing on our district holiday cards. Board members, I think tonight you received those special cards. Happy holidays to you. Nearly 60 entries were received, and 2 winners were selected here. You see Kelly Wynn, an 11th grade student at Barbara Ingram School for the Arts, and Minhal Inciaz, a 10th grade student at Barbara Ingram School for the Arts. You see the talent that exists in our students. To conclude my report, I'd like to wish our board, our community, a joyous holiday season, and a happy new year. As a reminder, all of our schools and offices will be closed for winter break beginning on Monday, December the 23rd through January the 1st. We will welcome students and staff back to schools when they reopen on Thursday, January the 2nd. President Zentmeyer, that concludes my report.
Thank you so much, Dr. Svine. That was wonderful. Those cards are beautiful. I haven't opened mine. It was a spoiler. Dr. Webster?
Good evening, President Zentmeyer, members of the board, Dr. Savine. As discussed earlier during closed session, there are several staff changes for your review, and at this time, I ask for your approval of this evening's personnel actions.
Do I have a motion?
Dr. Zentmeyer, I move to approve the personnel action that was discussed in closed session.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do you have any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous at 6. Thank you. Next is, thank you, Dr. Webster. The next thing on our agenda is the reports to the board from committees. I always get to start. I'm not going to stop now. C&I did meet on December 10th to review our program of studies, which was very exciting. Thanks to Dr. Willow and Adam Perry for their participation and presentations. Our next meeting is January 15th, 11 a.m. here at CES. Facilities?
We have a meeting coming up in January, the 28th at 1 o'clock here at CES.
Okay. Finance?
I guess we'll get there when.
All right. Human resources.
Human Resources will be meeting January 14th, 1 p.m. here in the board conference room, and I'm excited for my 2 new committee members. I think it'll be a wonderful experience.
And policy?
Yeah, we just had just determined the new members, so I believe it is you, Dr. Zentmeyer, and you, Charlie, right? So the 3 of us will be determining our next meeting and go and
did better than I did.
Not fair, I had practice.
When we look at the future agenda items, if you have anything that you want to add, on January 7th, we're going to look at the middle and high school program of studies, Innovate Ed, board norms, and a presentation of the single audit report, and I think we added one other thing.
Yeah, in conversation with Mr. Evans, I believe in following month, actually 2 months, we're going to be focusing on BCBAs and their results and goals of that program.
If anybody has anything they want to add, please see a member of the committee. Would be glad to entertain that, which brings us to board member comments. Would you like to start?
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah, I'd like to wish everyone a happy, safe, and great Christmas and New Year.
Yes, I would also like to wish everybody a happy holiday, whichever holiday they celebrate. And I'd also like to say that I had an opportunity to read at Marshall Street School about 10 days ago, and it was wonderful. I couldn't have had a better experience. The kids were attentive, the book was great, the staff is great. I love going there. It's one of my favorite things to do is to read to kids. So please invite me back, and other schools, please invite me. I would love to come.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Welcome to our new board members. Hopefully you appreciated the fireworks that were your first meeting, and hopefully we continue to get better, but it's great to have you guys here. Congratulations to you both, and to Tori, who will be joining us hopefully next month, and just be safe during the Christmas and New Year season here.
Well, I have a couple things. First of all, I'd like to extend a thank you to all the schools that put on special programs throughout the holiday season. I know there's still a few more that'll be happening, and it's always a special blessing to go out to see those, so I hope that families appreciated all the hard work that went into those. But I do have something I need to address. When a candidate loses their election, it is not because one person, it is because the community that they live in just wants a change of direction than what they have made in the past. Losing gracefully is expected and shows respect for the community and the values of the voting public. But when we lose and hold hostage the board's work, it shows poor values. This is what happened in November. 3 board members that ran for the school board lost their bid to hold the position that they held previously. The citizens of Washington County overwhelmingly chose to elect 3 new board members and re-elect another. When the previous board president and vice president decided that they did not want to hold the next meeting, it was a shock and surprise to me and other board members. The board president called both candidates that lost and 1 board member to get support to cancel that meeting. She never called the other board members, Darrell Evans, Dr. Zentmeyer, or myself. I asked about the opinions about holding the board meeting and why. She was asked to reconsider the cancellation of the school officials. She was asked to reconsider the cancellation by school officials. There was board business to move forward. There was staff that had to redo work that had already been performed, costing the school system more money, and 3, there would not look good on them. She chose to stay with her decision not to hold the meeting. As most everyone knows, the board work could have still moved forward because 4 board members is a quorum, and the work of the staff could have continued without 3 candidates that lost. But 1 board member who is here tonight chose to side with the outgoing board president and vice president. This board member held up the work of the staff who needed to have decisions made. We had policies that were on the second read and now have to start the process all over again. We had first read policies that now have to go back to policy committee to be resubmitted. There was personnel decisions that had to be made and items on the consent agenda that needed to be voted on. But she refused to attend, and the work of staff could not move forward. Not only was there board business that had to be canceled because she sided with the president and vice president, she silenced the citizens' voices of Hancock and the constituents of that community. Tonight, I'm asking the former president and vice president to return their pay for the month of November back to the citizens of Washington County for derelict of duty. They were not sick. They did not have prior obligations. They chose to quit their job early and not show up for board work. They made it difficult for staff and caused extra work for all involved. As for all board members here tonight who have chose to join the president and vice president and not showing up for the meeting, I publicly apologize to staff and the citizens along with your fellow board members. A public apology to the staff and citizens along with fellow board members are in order by this individual board member. Now, let me make it clear, something very important. As board members, we take our duties very seriously, but we have responsibilities outside of board work and the duties that we are asked to do. This is not our full-time job. We are not paid anywhere close to full-time pay and probably not even part-time. We do it for our community. We have vacations. We get sick. We have family deaths. We have our full-time jobs that we must skip a meeting to cover our regular job from time to time, and I am not exempt from that. I have had all these things happen to me over the 10 years, but I or anyone in the past have never just quit like the president and vice president did. And I have been here a long time, and enough to see one other president lose their job, but she stayed until the last meeting with dignity and humility. I'd like to say thanks for serving the citizens and everything that the past board the president has done, along with the vice president. They have worked very hard for the students and the staff for over combined of 100 years combined. But these recent actions will leave a black mark for both that will last much longer. To Peter Bigford, it was a privilege to know you and to work with you over these past few years. I thank you for serving the students and this board with knowledge and dedication. I will miss you. Thank you for your dedication, and I hope that we can move forward with better working relationships with this board. I look forward to working with the new board, and I'm just thankful for the people that are here and the people that showed up, and I do apologize to the staff in the back of the room that have to redo an awful lot of work for a few.
Do you have anything to add? Okay. This is a little bit more lighthearted. Do you know what the most recorded Christmas song is? Anybody want to guess?
Mariah Carey.
No. Jingle bells? No. Deck the halls? Silent Night?
White Christmas?
No. It's Silent Night. But do you know the story behind it? Joseph Moore, a poor kid whose dad died in the war before he was born on December 11th, 1792, was fostered by the choir master at the cathedral in Salzburg, Austria. He made sure he received a good education with music. And he was later included in seminary and actually was assigned to a small village parish. While he was there, he wrote a poem, Silent Night, Holy Night. And when he was transferred 2 years later, he became friends with the church organist, Franz Gruber. On December 24th, 1818, Father Moore took his poem to Gruber to set to music for the service that was going to start 2 hours later. Silent Night is the most famous and beloved Christmas song in the world. It's been translated into 300 languages and recorded over 137,000 times. There's so many lessons in this. Help kids in need. Make sure every kid has a good education with music. Sometimes a spontaneous idea is all you need. So may your Christmas be calm, bright, and filled with peace, as the words say. And we'll see you in the new year. This meeting is adjourned.